Thank you for clicking on this video. This video is the third in a series of 4 videos for bidding for the Affordable Homes Fund 21-26. This video is about inputting, saving, validating an indicative offer line. My name's Susan Roberts. This video was recorded in December 2020 and therefore reflects IMS at that point in time. So as with previous videos, first of all, the video structure. So this video is aimed at new users of IMS. The video does assume that you've watched video 2, which is about inputting a firm offer line, because I will be referring to that in a couple of places. I'm then going to go on and look at tenures and processing routes, not nearly as complicated as for video 2, partly because we don't have milestones in the same way, indicative lines. I'm then going to look at inputting a general needs, empty homes, indicative affordable rent offer line. I'm then going to look at the differences on other tenures and other processing routes and so on. I'm then going to set up, just as before, some offer lines with some error messages on them when I save and validate, and I'll do that live in IMS. And then I'll do a quick reminder of what the other videos are. Just a reminder that any data shown in IMS has been set up by Homes England specifically for this video and is not live data. And therefore there are no data protection issues with the data that I'm going to show you as I go through this video. So first of all, tenures and processing routes. So when you look at your tenures in IMS and you've put an indicative offer line, you will find that they'll all still be listed, but actually not all of them are compatible with empty homes and hold, because empty homes and hold are the only 2 circumstances in which you can have an indicative offer line during this programme. So if you select empty homes, there are 2 processing routes: lease and repair and purchase and repair. Now, lease and repair, you should only be using rental tenures on those lines. Purchase and repair, you can use all tenures on those lines. In terms of hold, well, hold is a shared ownership product. So although all processing routes are compatible, so you can have your acquisition and works, your works only and so on, only the shared ownership subproduct should be used for those lines. So next I'm going to take you into IMS and I'm going to look at inputting a general needs, empty homes, purchase and repair, affordable rent, indicative offer line, and then I'll look at the differences on other lines. So I'm back in the offer lines part of IMS and I'm going to start now to add that indicative line. So click on the blue plus again and I'm going to select partnership. Then the offer name, and I'm obviously picking the 21-26, and then this is going to be video demonstration. Okay, so over this side of the screen, the first thing I need to do is this is bringing empty homes back into use, so this is yes. Proposal type is indicative. And then it wants to know the local authority. So for those of you that have done some work with us before, you'll notice that this screen would be quite different on an indicative offer line. So now you need to identify the local authority, and indicative lines can only be by a local authority. They can't be by a region or by a minimum geography. So as on a firm line, if you don't know your local authority code, if you right click, and I'm going to type in TAM and click on find. So it's found 2 local authorities, because on this line I only put in the first 3 letters. So I want Tameside, but it has found Tamworth because that also begins with TAM. So Tameside, click on OK and enter it. I could have just typed that local authority code in there if I'd wanted. So I'm going to click on the Save button. Okay, so on an indicative line, you don't have a site, so there is the site tab over this side of the screen is missing. Let me click on Products. So looks the same. So the processing route is going to be Purchase and Repair. And the offer line source is Continuous Market Engagement. Then I'm going to click on the Save button. Next, I'm going to click on the blue plus. So subproduct is affordable rent. The number of homes is 10. And the funding requested is 235,000. Now we've got a box that didn't appear previously. So it says the number of units on rural sites, and that's a population of 3,000 or less. And that is, of those 10 units, how many do you expect to be on a rural site? And for me, I'm going to put in 0 at that point. So let me click on the Save button. And that has opened up everything that appears below. So you will notice that there are less tabs than there were previously. So the first one is a new one that we won't have seen before, which is revenue income. And this is about the income that you are going to get from the properties in terms of rent or shared ownership rental income. So I need to add my values in. So first is the expected market rent. And it does identify that as a per unit, including service charge. Next one is the affordable rent per unit again. So that's 5280. And then it also wants to know what is the average affordable rent service charge. So that one I'm going to put as that. And then the bottom one is the one that's different. Because what this says is estimated rental income per annum. And then it's got information in brackets. And then it says at the bottom for all homes. So whereas these were per property values, this is a grossed up value. So I will enter that appropriate grossed up value. If I was on a shared ownership line, the revenue income would have the rent information grayed out and the home ownership information accessible for entering data. So let me move to the next tab, which is unit details. And I can again double click to open up a window, and you'll see this is much simpler than it was previously. So the number of units, I'm going to put in 10 units. The type of housing I'm going to do is general needs. The number of persons is 3. The number of bedrooms is 2. And the size on this one is 57. Now, it's already populated them as not section 106 units. If that was incorrect, you can change it. So on a firm line, the site details control what appears in the section 106 box. Here we can change that because we haven't got any site details at this point. So let me click on the Save button. Okay, next one is capital contributions. And there's a slightly smaller list than there was previously of options for you to enter your data against. So let me enter my data. So I've got some loan supportable from rental income. I've got some cross subsidy. And I've got some recycled capital grant. And what IMS is ultimately going to want me to do is to make sure that I have zeros everywhere else. So I need to put a 0 in that top box, and I need to have a 0 at the bottom. And those two boxes are identical to a firm line. Let me now go to the scheme costs. Now, when we did scheme costs on a firm line, we started at item A. This time we start at item E, and it wants to know the acquisition costs. So let me add in the acquisition cost. Then move down to the works cost. And finally, an on cost. And as before, we are looking for this line to have a zero, surplus or deficit. Now the next tab is new. So we don't have a scheme forecast tab on an indicative line. We have a delivery profile, and that's an estimate by quarter of when you expect your starts and your completions to take place. Now, one thing that confuses people on these lines is that regardless of your organisation type, at this stage on your indicative line, you need to put in split your start and your completions payments, 50% start, 50% completion. So all of your starts and all of your completions don't need to be at the same time. So let me put my some starts in for March and for September end of quarter. Okay. So what I need to manually do is enter the payment for those starts. And the two payments that I'm going to add have to add up to the value that's at the bottom, the payment controls. So I'm going to exactly pro rata mine. You might choose to do yours differently. And the same here. 58,750. I'm then going to put in my completions. So they're going to be within the next quarter. So 5 there and 5 here. I could have, if I needed to, put those completions when they were actually going to happen. So if it was going to be a 3 and a 5 between different quarters, then I can put that in there. And again, I need to manually enter the value because it could vary. Okay, so that's my delivery profile added. And finally, the additional information. Well, these are added in the same way that they were on a firm offer line. So I'm going to go away, I'm going to add some responses in here, and then I'm going to come back and I'll be back on the revenue income tab. Okay, so back on the revenue tab, I've added everything that I think I need to onto this line, and I'm now going to click on the save button. Okay, so this line has successfully saved. So I'm now going to cancel. Okay, so I'm now going to validate this offer line. So I'm going to click on the validate button. So offer line validated with no errors. So click on the OK button, and you can see that's gone to green. So next I'm going to look at differences from that general needs, purchase and repair, affordable rent, general needs, indicative offer line. So the other variations that are around. So first of all, the differences on lease and repair and specialist. So on a lease and repair line, the only difference after you've selected lease and repair on your processing route is that you will get another box appear on screen on the products tab, and that is estimated lease length. And you can see here that I've shown it with the drop down showing, so it's 5 and 10 years, or 10 years and less than 15 years is the options that you can see there. But otherwise everything is the same as the purchase and repair. For supported and older people, the way that you would indicate that is within the units. So under units, the question is what type of housing do the units provide? Before we looked at general needs, the other two options are supported housing and older people. And in both of those last two cases, there are no additional screens that appear for you to complete. So no happy principals or anything like that. You'll get asked those sort of questions at the profile stage. And then the differences in terms of hold and shared ownership. So for hold, you should only be using the shared ownership subproducts. IMS will let you pick the other subproducts, but they're not eligible under the programme. It has to be shared ownership under hold. On shared ownership, on the revenue income screen, you don't need to add a whole load of information about the rents. What you need to do is to put about just the one box for the rental income after service charges. And that is for all homes, so it's a grossed up number. On shared ownership lines, you also get a slightly different unit screen. So at the bottom here, we have 3 extra boxes. So the first one's market value, assumed percentage as first tranche sale, and rent per week. So they're the 3 additional sets of information that you're required to provide, but otherwise everything is the same. So just a bit about other tenures, processing routes and so on. So for social rent, the only change is on the revenue income screen. And I can't show you that in the system at the moment because the version of IMS that I'm using hasn't been fully updated for social rent. The team are working on that as I'm recording this video. For rent to buy, there are no changes to the screens. Everything is exactly the same as for the rental tenure. For unregistered bodies, the tick box that you're interested in discussing a start on site payment will appear once your offer line has been approved as you firm up your units and take those units out of bulk into a scheme profile. It's at the scheme profile level that you will get asked that question about whether you're interested in claiming a start on site payment. So next, I'm going to look at some common errors when you're saving and validating indicative offer lines in IMS. So those errors will typically come from data inconsistencies. So that might be dates not agreeing, units not agreeing, and so on. For indicative, it could be lapsed dates, but it could be lapsed quarters instead of physical dates. There could be a surplus or deficit showing, and also some missing information. So let me take you into IMS and I'll show you the typical errors that you might come across. So the very first error that you might get is when you try and save at this point. So you've marked a line as an indicative line and you try and save. So let's see what happens. So it says that under continuous market engagement, indicative offer lines are only permitted if they are proposals to bring empty homes back into use as affordable housing, or they are for hold. So let me click on the OK for that button. So I've marked this line as indicative, but what I didn't set at the same time was set that either this was a bringing empty homes back into use or that it was hold. So let me fix that error. So this is an empty homes line that I was going to input. So let me select that to yes and then click on the save button. And once I've clicked on save, I won't be able to change this information on the offer line. So let me click on the save button. Okay, so at the moment the line is indicative, but I would now be able to go through to my products tab and start to add the information that I need to there. So I'm now going to go away and make some changes, create some other offer lines, and next time you come back to my screen, I will be ready to do some validating on an indicative offer line again. Okay, so I've entered a load of data on this offer line and put loads of errors in it as I'm doing it. So let's see what happens when I save and then when I validate. So I'm going to go through each of those errors as they come up. So let me click on save. So the first one is that total number of completions on the delivery profile 9 does not match the number of units for the subproduct 10. So click on the OK button to remove it. Yeah, what I can say is I've got 10 units up at the top. I've got 10 units as starts, but I've only got 9 units as completion. So I should either put those all in that one place or spread them over multiple quarters. So on this one, I'm going to put them all in the same quarter. So I'm going to click on the Save button. Okay, so the total payment for starts, £100,000, does not match the starts payment control 117,500. So let me click on the OK button. So what this is telling me this time is that the number that's here doesn't match the number that's at the bottom. And that control is adding up across all offer lines. So that value is wrong and it should have been 117,500. So let me click on the Save button. Okay, so the next one says amount pound must be specified. So let's click on OK. That's taken me to capital contributions. So if you remember from the previous offer line, we need to have a value in every box that's there. So if there are no other capital sources, then we need the value 0 in there. So let me click on the Save button. Okay, so then I've got a different message, mandatory data. Of the above contributions, how much borrowing is intended to be secured under an affordable homes guarantee must be specified. So click on the OK button. So this is the button, the box at the bottom of the screen. So let me enter 0 in there and save again. Okay, so so far that's got rid of the errors that are there. Now I know I've left some other errors there. So let me click on the cancel button. And now let me validate, and hopefully validating will pick up the other errors that I've put in there. So it says that the total scheme costs must be 0 on the subproduct. So let me click on there. That's implying there's a surplus or deficit. So scheme costs, and yes, there's a surplus or deficit on the scheme. So to check that, I need to go back and double check all my funding values. So my funding requested is correct. My capital contributions, I've made a mistake. I've missed off a 0 that I intended to add there. So let me add that 0 in. Let me go back to my scheme costs. The surplus or the deficit has now gone to 0. If I hadn't found the error there, I would have had to have chased through the acquisitions, works and on cost to check which one I'd got wrong. So let me click on Save and cancel. And then you can see it's automatically redone the validation for me, and that first error has gone. So then it says the total subproducts unit does not match the sum of the individual indicative unit types entered for the subproduct. So let me click on the link. So I've got 10 units there, and this is implying that, okay, so when I look at the units, it's got number of units 9. This is where things need to be consistent. So if the units are all the same size and type or anticipated size and type, I change to match. So click on the Save button. If you'd had multiple lines there, you would have needed to make sure that they totaled to the value at the bottom and that matched the number of units. So click on the Save button and cancel, and it should revalidate it for me again. Okay. So final one, the offer line cannot be validated until the additional information screen has been completed. So let me click on that one and go to the additional information, and I've got some questions that I need to answer. So let me complete the answer to those questions and then come back to the screen to validate again. So I'm now at the point where I've added some responses. Obviously you will add correct responses and not the dummy responses that I've put in here. So they save as they're going along. So let me click on cancel. And I've now got a message, offer line validated with no errors. So click on the OK button, and that has now gone to green. So now a quick mention about the other videos that are in this series. So for new users, there will be 4 videos. The first video is about bidding an introduction and inputting in IMS your partnership and your offer. Video 2 was about inputting a firm offer line and site into IMS. This video is video 3, and that was about inputting an indicative offer line into IMS. And video 4, which is the next video, is going to be about validating and submitting your 21-26 offer within IMS. For experienced users, there's a single video, and that is a bidding upgrade from 2016-21 programme to the new 21-26 programme, and that video will talk you through the differences in IMS.